There once was a young person named Red Riding Hood, who lived with her mother on the edge of a large wood. One day, her mother asked her to take a basket of fresh fruit and mineral water to her grandmother's house. Not because this was woman's work, mind you, but because the deed was generous and helped engender a feeling of community. Furthermore, her grandmother was not sick, but rather was in full physical and mental health and was fully capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult. So Red Riding Hood set off with her basket through the woods. Many people believed that the forest was a foreboding and dangerous place, and never set foot in it. Red Riding Hood, however, was confident enough in her own budding sexuality that such obvious Freudian imagery did not intimidate her.
Oh, what is in your basket?
Some healthful snacks for my grandmother, who's certainly capable of taking care of herself as a mature adult.
You know, my dear, it's not safe for a little girl to walk through these woods alone.
I find your sexist remark offensive in the extreme, but I will ignore it. Because of your traditional status as an outcast from society, the stress of which has caused you to develop your own, entirely valid worldview. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must be on my way.
Red Riding Hood walked along the main path. But, because her status outside society had freed him from slavish adherence to linear Western-style thought, the wolf knew a quicker route to Grandma's house. He burst into the house and ate Grandma, an entirely valid course of action for a carnivore such as himself. Then, unhampered by rigid traditionalist notions of what was masculine or feminine, he put on Grandma's nightclothes and crawled into bed.
Grandma, I've brought you some snacks to salad you in your role as a wise and nurturing matriarch. Grandma. Grandma! Grandma, what big eyes you have.
Oh, they have seen much and forgiven much, my dear.
Grandma, what a big nose you have. Only relatively, of course, and certainly attractive in its own way.
It has smelled much and forgiven much, my dear.
Grandma, what big teeth you have.
I'm happy with who I am. And what I am.
He grabbed Red Riding Hood in his claws, intent on devouring her. Red Riding Hood screamed, not out of alarm at the wolf's apparent tendency towards cross-dressing, but because of his willful invasion of her personal space. Her screams were heard by a passing wood chopper person, or log fuel technician, as he preferred to be called. When he burst into the cottage, he saw the melee and tried to intervene. But as he raised his axe...
What do you think you're doing? Bursting in here like a Neanderthal? Trusting your weapon to do your thinking for you? Sexist. Speciesist. How dare you assume that women and wolves can't solve their problems without a man's help?
When Grandma heard Red Riding Hood's impassioned speech, she jumped out of the wolf's mouth, seized the woodchopper person's axe, and cut his head off. After this ordeal, Red Riding Hood, Grandma, and the wolf felt a certain commonality of purpose. They decided to set up an alternative household based on mutual respect and cooperation, and they lived together in the woods, happily ever after.